just, indigestion. So I got up, came to the refrigerator, got me a Sprite, tried to go back to bed, still feeling nauseous and just, like I wanted to throw up.
Outside, the rain was pouring down, but because of the pain, Rachel hardly noticed.
God, it was terrible. It was like somebody was pulling down on my insides, and just a lot of cramping. Felt like, I was bellied, had my knees up to my chest, and I just thought, something's going wrong. Something is wrong, really wrong.
Her neighbor dialed 911 and begged for someone to help Rachel.
Later in the morning, we got a call from this particular lady who was a critical patient, came in on our 911 system to our communications office. In weather emergencies, we normally pre-position our personnel and our vehicles so that we can make evacuations if necessary. In the case with Frances, we were unable to do it because we just didn't have early warning.
No warning time. The critical issue facing emergency managers is that in the past, they haven't had timely weather information to make their critical decisions. As a matter of fact, when severe weather breaks out, often the emergency managers turn to the Weather Channel. Well, the Weather Channel gives you a broad picture of where the severe weather is, but it doesn't tell you specifically what's happening in your location. And that's why I've been really excited about this Reliant Energy warn system.
They could. Fire Department volunteer Jackie McCrae was voice paged to help. The rapidly rising floodwaters made it impossible for her to leave the house, but backup was already on the way to pick her up.
I sort of panicked a wee bit because I thought, well, I can't get there, I can't get to the ambulance, what am I going to do? And just then the fire truck arrived outside my front door.
At the command post, volunteer EMS Captain Brian King attempted to drive the ambulance, but the floodwaters presented a tremendous obstacle.
We got as far as we could, as close to her residence as we could, and I just couldn't go any farther. I told them that we needed a method to get to where we needed to be.
The largest and highest vehicle available was sent to pick them up, a dump truck, but it wasn't long before it too was swamped.
4, 5, 6 houses we flooded out, and the truck kept bobbling on down,
Never knew that water could move a dump truck the way it was moving this truck.
Jackie told me, she said, you remember when you told me at least we're moving in the right direction? Yeah. You gotta look at the bright side.
I was monitoring the scanner that morning, and when the EMS call came in, I was hearing that the vehicles that they were trying to get to the house in were being flooded out. I opened my garage up, which had about 6 inches of water in it at the time, and pulled the boat out of the garage and actually launched it right there outside of the garage.
The next feeling I had was, okay, the boat's here, but how do I get out of this dump truck and down into that boat?
Once I picked the crew up, we got to the house pretty fast because the water was really flowing.
The current of water was pretty fast, and I have never seen so much water in my life.
We just floated right up into the yard and right into the front door.
When the paramedics came through the door, and they were just like they had a bright light behind them, and it was going to be all right. When they came through the door, it's just like, they're here and everything's going to be all right.
Well, once we got into the house, we knew then we needed to transport Rachel, so Robert made the decision to send out for the backboard.
They said, well, we want to put you on a board. We'd like to put you on a nicer board, but we have just this board.
And we got her strapped, secured to the backboard, and the guys carried the backboard with Rachel on top out to the boat.
They opened the door up, and I thought, oh my God, never dreamed this all was going on. I was just oblivious to it all. I knew it was raining. One of the paramedics takes off his jacket and puts it over my head, and so I could see, he's getting soaking wet.
The water from White Oak Bayou was coming down Jersey Drive quite fast, and we took 4 people and walked the boat past the fast water in the calm water of the yard across the street.
When I saw them turning the corner in the distance, I noticed that they were walking beside the boat, And it was a main concern of mine, are they gonna be able to make it down here to where I am so that we can get her to the hospital?
Severe storms like Tropical Storm Francis are far too common in Southeast Texas. And until recently, emergency managers have relied on data that's delayed, vague, and expensive.
Real-time information is the key. And Channel 11 has partnered with Reliant Energy to provide a program called Reliant Energy Warn to provide real-time information to emergency personnel during a severe weather threat.
Reliant Energy Warn is a wide-area radar network that allows emergency managers in our viewing area access to the power of Channel 11's SkyMax 11 live Doppler radar.
It means that SkyMax radar information will be placed into the hands of the people who need that to help them make better decisions during life-threatening severe weather.
Reliant Energy Warn works by transmitting the powerful SkyMax 11 live Doppler radar signal to public safety agencies and area emergency management offices. The data is received on a personal computer through a standard television antenna. The software decodes the signal and emergency managers are able to look at real-time, site-specific radar and National Weather Service warnings. This gives emergency managers the ability to see what's happening now, rather than what occurred 15 minutes earlier. That means better warnings and safer communities in times of crisis.
This is the first time that local emergency managers will be able to micromanage emergency situations with real-time radar information. And thanks to Reliant Energy, no cost to the cities or the counties.
We really feel like this is a groundbreaking effort between Channel 11 and Reliant Energy. The ability for two public corporations to come together to provide this sort of service to the community is really unique. And we're doing this not only to provide the service, but I'm very sure that as time will tell, it will also save lives.
It's a system that has demonstrated its effectiveness in other parts of the country, and it's finally in Southeast Texas.
Coming up next, Channel 11 meteorologist David Paul will tell you how the Reliant Energy Warn system helped save lives during a violent tornado outbreak in April of 1999. We'll be right back.
It's gonna be a wedge. It's coming right toward this town. It's Carbon. It's coming toward the town of Carbon. Let me take a picture. Let me take a picture. Run, you ready to go? Watch the breeze. Run, watch the breeze.
It was a cool April afternoon in Des Moines, Iowa, when a series of 10 dangerous twisters ripped across the plains.
There was a car parked right in this area here, and we dove down behind the car in that area right over there.
The storms were up to F4 in strength, so we had winds of 250, 260 miles per hour.
The tornadoes were as powerful as those that devastated Oklahoma City in May of 1999. But in Des Moines, no lives were lost, and much of the credit is given to the fact that residents here were warned in time.
Back into Iowa.
John McLaughlin is the chief meteorologist for Des Moines' CBS station.
In the spring, we started to go out and establish this wide area radar network with about 19 various counties around central Iowa and southern Iowa.
It was the WARN system, the same wide area radar network we have now in Southeast Texas. It allows the television station to feed their live radar signal to local emergency management, giving them the power to see the storms as they're coming in and take action.
The fire department had the radar. They spotted what looked suspicious on the radar. Again, we're not making them meteorologists, but it looked bad to them, and it certainly was. They got their people out, in this case the sheriff, actually observed the tornado, radioed the weather service, got the warnings out.
John Coulter is the sheriff who tracked the storm.
I knew that people were getting home from work, school was getting out, we had school buses out. I kept yelling on the radio for the dispatcher to make sure they got the warning out.
Had the folks in Des Moines not had the WARN system, it could have taken up to 10 minutes longer to get that critical information out to the public.
Out of all the tornadoes that occurred that day, about 95% of those actually had warnings in advance of the tornadoes, and many of those were the result of the county emergency managers having their spotters out, knowing particularly from the live radar where the storms were, and then passing that information on to the National Weather Service.
What happened in Iowa was a textbook example of how WARN can be used to save lives. You've got to remember, in a severe thunderstorm situation and tornado situation, even a few minutes delay can have deadly consequences.
What we really feel in putting this system out in the community is that it is going to put information in the hands of the emergency management providers that has never been there before. And if through this investment we're able to save even one life as a result of doing that, well then the whole system is obviously worth it.
Emergency managers say the key to saving lives is knowing where to expect the worst.
Being able to receive the real-time weather information, we'd be able to evacuate our people in a more orderly manner. This just gives us a much better advantage of moving our people out of harm's way and protecting them much better than we've been able to in the past.
Warning better means having more lead time. And since emergency managers throughout the area are going to be looking at the same real-time radar information, it will help them coordinate their warnings and their rescue efforts.
We have the same system that other county emergency management people have. As a result of that, we can be coordinated. We're looking at the same data at the same time that they're having that. As a result, we can determine what type of impact we're having, what type of impact they're going to have it in, and we can coordinate that effort and that response.
With advanced warning and site-specific accuracy, emergency managers will be able to track a storm's movement with incredible precision.
What it'll allow us to do would be actually look down onto the street level and look at facilities that we can physically place on the map. Then we can calculate the time that it will take the storm to reach this facility instead of having to call 15 or 20 different places and tell them severe weather is heading their way. Now we can pinpoint that and narrow the scope and reduce the amount of calls, therefore increase their lead time.
I think it will be invaluable. We'll be able to look down at almost a street-by-street basis, not just so much as for warning purposes, but also for flooding and what might be going on, so we can prepare better and we can warn better.
Our viewers will benefit too. With storm spotters positioned across the area, we'll know what is happening and when it is happening. In the case of severe weather, Channel 11 will have a front row seat, and so will our viewers.
Coming up next, we'll have the dramatic conclusion to Rachel Bealey's rescue, and we'll tell you how Reliant Energy Warn could help you during a power outage. We'll be right back. The current was strong, but the rescuers forced the little boat through the water to get Rachel to the ambulance.
They said, you know, you're going to be all right, you know, now you're going to be all right. And I said, I know I will. And I just held on their hands.
And everything was going to be all right, even though I really did not know if it would have been all right or not, because I was pretty scared myself.
Rachel may have been rescued from her flooded home, but her hospital was still far away, and her condition was getting worse.
We got her into the ambulance, and then, as like Brian said, you know, he was negotiating hard to get to a hospital. Well, my main concern was Rachel's condition and how long was it going to take us to get us even to the closest hospital.
5 to 10 minute ride took at least 35 minutes.
Yes.
With the Reliant Energy Warn system, emergency teams will now be able to advise crews of alternate routes to emergency facilities.
We will have real-time information, and we can get that out to the public quicker. We can get it to sheriff's deputies out on the highway, get that real-time information to them immediately.
Reliant Energy Warn is also in use at Reliant Energy to respond quicker to storm damage.
Whenever we have severe weather, there's always a chance that there will be power outages as a result from that. By being able to look at the detail on the Warn system, we can pinpoint where we believe that trouble will be most severe. And using that will allow us to dispatch the trucks and the kind of trucks we need to the area more quickly than we do right now.
Since Tropical Storm Francis, we've gained a lot of experience in our training that we've done since then, and our awareness level is much higher because of that training, the rapid water rescue that we've been practicing in conjunction with the Reliant Energy Warning that we have now available to us. That should give us the advance notice that we need to put these systems in action, so we will be better prepared for the next tropical storm or any emergency, weather emergency that we may have.
We haven't seen Rachel since that day, but I keep track of her in our church bulletin. She goes to the same church I do.
Yeah, every time I go by her house at the end of Jersey down there, I remember that morning and wonder how she's doing.
Someone never forget.
No. Everything turned out just fine. They have no signs of any cancer, you know, in my system. And they wouldn't have come when they did and got me there, I probably would have died. My children being without no parents, you know, how do you even think about that? I mean, they truly saved my life. I've always thought, how do you go and thank somebody? I had this plaque made. The plaque says, on behalf of myself and my children, we'd like to thank the Jersey Village Fire Department and EMS service for their heroic, which it was, efforts during the flood of 1998, which entailed myself being transported by boat from my flooded street and home to a waiting ambulance. You saved my life. God bless each and every one of you. Rachel Wesley and Brianna Bealey.
There's no doubt about it. Reliant Energy Warren is putting key information into the hands of emergency managers who need it most. It's empowering them to make better decisions. It's about saving lives when seconds count.